There's a certain kind of tension in the air when something great is about to happen. It's like standing at the foot of a mountain before the climb, or watching the sky darken before a powerful storm. There's an undeniable sense that something is about to shift. And my friends, when God is about to give you something big, there is a stirring in your soul that you cannot ignore. It may come as a whisper, a quiet but persistent voice nudging you forward, or it may arrive like a thunderclap, shaking the very foundations of your life. Either way, you can feel it. The air is different. The world seems to hold its breath. And deep within, you just know that something is about to change. This moment, this divine appointment is not random. It is not a mere coincidence or a stroke of luck. No, it is the culmination of something greater, a movement of the Holy Spirit orchestrating events behind the scenes. You may not see it yet, but the pieces are already falling into place. God has been working in the shadows, preparing your heart, aligning circumstances, and positioning people in your path. He has been refining you, shaping you, and strengthening you for what's ahead. And now, just on the edge of your awareness, you feel it, the presence of something extraordinary pressing against the fabric of your everyday life. But let me tell you this, when God is about to give you something big, it doesn't always come in the way you expect. It might not be a grand miracle or an instant breakthrough. Sometimes it comes in the form of a test, a trial, or a moment of deep surrender. Because before He exalts, He humbles. Before He blesses, He purifies. And before He gives you the promise, He prepares your heart to receive it. So if you've been going through something difficult, if you've been wrestling with doubt or disappointment, take heart, because that very struggle may be the prelude to something magnificent. You see, God does not work in the way the world works. He does not rush. He does not force. He does not announce His plans with fanfare. Instead, He moves in the quiet, in the waiting, in the moments where you feel unseen. But make no mistake, He is moving. And when He is about to give you something big, the whole universe leans in to watch. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. You've been praying. You've been believing. You've been holding on to hope, even when it felt like the weight of the world was pressing down on your shoulders. And yet, it seems like nothing has changed. The breakthrough hasn't come. The promise hasn't materialized. The answer hasn't arrived. And in those moments, those long, weary moments, you begin to wonder, is God really working? Is He really listening? Or have I misunderstood everything? I want to be honest with you. Doubt is real. It creeps in when you're exhausted, when you've given your all and still don't see results. It whispers in your ear when you're lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if you've been forgotten. And let me tell you, even the strongest of saints wrestled with doubt. David, the mighty warrior and man after God's own heart, cried out, "How long, Lord? Will you forget me forever?" Moses, who spoke with God face to face, once said, "Why have you brought trouble on this people?" And even Jesus in His humanity cried from the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me?" So if you're struggling, if you're questioning, if you're weary, know this, you are not alone. And more than that, your doubt does not disqualify you. God is not offended by your questions. He is not put off by your frustration. He is not distant because you cry out in pain. In fact, He draws near to the brokenhearted. He is closest to those who are crushed in spirit. And sometimes the very act of questioning, of wrestling, of crying out to Him, those are the things that deepen your faith and prepare you for the miracle that is coming. But here's the thing about God's timing. It is not our timing. We want instant answers. We want clear direction. We want the clouds to part and the voice of heaven to say, yes, this is the way. But God often works in shadows. He moves in ways we do not understand. And sometimes the very thing we are waiting for is being prepared in secret, behind the veil of our circumstances. While we are looking for signs, He is orchestrating a miracle. While we are questioning His silence, He is laying the foundation for sight with something greater than we could ever imagine. So if you find yourself in the waiting, I urge you, do not give up. Do not lose heart. Do not let the enemy convince you that God has abandoned you, because when God is about to give you something big, the waiting is not wasted. The struggle is not in vain. The pain is not pointless. It is all part of the process. And in His perfect time, the breakthrough will come. Now, let me tell you something that might not be easy to hear, but it is absolutely essential to understand. Before God gives you something big, He prepares you for it. That preparation often comes in the form of trials, challenges, and seasons of waiting. You see, God is not only concerned with the destination, He is deeply invested in the journey. He knows that for you to truly receive and steward the blessing He has for you, your heart must be ready, your character must be refined, and your faith must be strengthened. Think of a seed planted in the ground. Before it can break through the surface and stretch toward the sun, it must first endure the darkness. It must push through the soil, endure the pressure, and face the unseen forces that test its strength. But that struggle is not an obstacle, it is the very process that enables the seed to grow into something strong and fruitful. In the same way, God allows you to go through trials because He is shaping you for the purpose He has called you to. You might be going through a season of testing right now. Perhaps you are facing financial hardship, relational struggles, or professional disappointments. Maybe you feel like you're stuck in the same place, going through the same battles, and you're wondering when God will intervene. But let me tell you this, God is not idle. He is not indifferent to your pain. He is at work in the very midst of your struggle. He is preparing you for something greater than you can currently see. Let me remind you of Joseph, the son of Jacob. He was favored by his father, had dreams of greatness, and was destined for leadership. But before he stood before Pharaoh and saved an entire nation, he went through years of hardship, betrayal by his brothers, slavery, false accusations, and imprisonment. He could have easily given up. He could have questioned whether God had forgotten him, but he remained faithful. He trusted that God was working behind the scenes, even when he could not see the plan. And in due time, God exalted him. He took what was meant for evil and turned it into good. And that same God is at work in your life today. Or consider David, the shepherd boy who would one day be king. Before he stood before Goliath and led armies, he spent years tending sheep, enduring loneliness, and facing the constant threat of wild beasts. Those years were not wasted. They built his courage, his trust in God, and his ability to lead. The wilderness was his training ground. And when the time came for him to step into his destiny, he was ready. So, my friend, if you find yourself in a wilderness season, do not despair. That wilderness is not a place of abandonment, it is a place of preparation. God is shaping you, strengthening you, and equipping you for the purpose He has called you to. Every trial you face, every setback you endure, every tear you shed, it is not meaningless. It is all part of the process. And let me tell you this, God never wastes pain. He takes every wound, every disappointment, every failure, and He repurposes them for His glory. He does not cause suffering, but He redeems it. He does not send trials to destroy you, but to refine you. And when He is about to give you something big, He will often allow you to go through a season of testing to ensure that your heart is ready. So if you are in the middle of a trial, do not lose heart. If you are facing obstacles, do not give up. If you are weary from waiting, do not surrender. Because in the midst of that struggle, God is at work. He is refining your character, strengthening your faith, and preparing you for the blessing that is just around the corner. And when that moment comes, when the breakthrough arrives, you will look back and see how every step of the journey was necessary. You will see how God was preparing you all along, and you will stand in awe of His faithfulness. Now, I know what you might be thinking. How long must I wait? How much longer must I endure? And let me tell you, I understand. Waiting is hard. Surrender is hard. It goes against our very nature. We want control. We want certainty. We want to see the path clearly laid out before us. But God, in His infinite wisdom, calls us to something deeper. He calls us to trust, to wait with expectation, to surrender with faith. You see, patience is not simply enduring a long period of time. It is not passivity. It is not resignation. No, patience is an active posture of trust. It is choosing to believe that God is at work even when you cannot see it. It is refusing to give in to fear, even when circumstances seem overwhelming. It is holding on to hope even when the road ahead is uncertain. And my friend, when God is about to give you something big, patience becomes your most powerful ally. But here's the challenge: patience does not come naturally to us. We live in a culture of immediacy. We want instant results, instant gratification, instant answers. We scroll through our phones and expect everything to load in a second. We watch videos and skip to the end if they don't immediately grab our attention. We want our prayers answered now, our problems solved now, our miracles delivered now. And when they don't come, we grow frustrated, we question, we doubt, we wonder if God has forgotten us. But let me remind you, God's timing is not our timing. His ways are not our ways. And sometimes the very thing we are waiting for is being prepared in secret, behind the veil of our circumstances. While we are looking for signs, He is orchestrating a miracle. While we are questioning His silence, He is laying the foundation for something greater than we could ever imagine. So how do we cultivate patience in the waiting? How do we surrender to God's timing when everything in us wants to take control? It starts with shifting our focus. Instead of obsessing over the outcome, we must learn to trust the process. Instead of demanding immediate answers, we must learn to listen for God's voice in the waiting. Instead of trying to force things to happen, we must learn to rest in His sovereignty. And let me tell you, surrender is not weakness. Surrender is strength. It takes courage to let go of control. It takes faith to release your plans and trust God with the outcome. Surrender means acknowledging that you do not have all the answers, that you do not have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders, and that you can trust the one who holds the universe in His hands. I remember a time in my own life when I was desperate for an answer. I was facing a decision that felt overwhelming, a path that seemed uncertain. I prayed, I fasted, I sought counsel, and yet the clarity I was looking for did not come. There was no thunderclap, no divine voice from heaven. No sudden bolt of insight, just silence. And in that silence, I had a choice. I could either fight to take control, or I could surrender and trust that God was working behind the scenes. And you know what? In His perfect time, the answer came. Not in the way I expected, not on my timeline, but in a way that was far better than anything I could have imagined. Because when we surrender, when we trust God's timing, we open the door for Him to do what only He can do. So if you find yourself in the waiting, if you are wrestling with surrender, I encourage you, take a deep breath. Let go of the need to control everything. Trust that God sees you. Trust that He hears you. Trust that He is working even when you cannot see it. And know that in His perfect time, the breakthrough will come. And when it does, when you finally see the miracle unfold, you will look back and realize that the waiting was not wasted. The surrender was not in vain. Every moment of trust, every act of faith, every tear shed in prayer was all part of the process. And in that moment, you will stand in awe of God's faithfulness, knowing that He was preparing you all along. Now, let me speak to you about something that is often overlooked but absolutely vital to understanding God's ways, His timing. You see, God does not work according to our clocks, our calendars, or our sense of urgency. He operates on a divine timetable that often seems impossibly slow to us, but I want to tell you this: God's timing is never late, and it is never wrong. When He makes a promise, He keeps it. When He sets something in motion, nothing can stop it. And when He is about to give you something big, He does so in His perfect time. Let me remind you of Abraham and Sarah. God made a promise to them that they would be the parents of a great nation, that their descendants would be as numerous as the stars. And yet years passed. Decades passed. Abraham grew old. Sarah grew old. Their bodies became weak. The promise seemed impossible. And yet, in the fullness of time, God fulfilled His word. Isaac was born. The miracle came not a moment too early, not a moment too late, but exactly when God intended. Or think of Moses. God called him to lead His people out of Egypt, but before that mission could begin, Moses had to spend 40 years in the wilderness. 40 years, that's not a short season, that's a lifetime. And yet, those years were not wasted. They were necessary. They shaped him. They refined him. They taught him patience, humility, and reliance on God. And when the time was right, God called him back, and He used him in a mighty way. And then there's Joseph. He had dreams from God, visions of greatness, of leadership, of purpose. But before those dreams could be fulfilled, he was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. It would have been easy for him to grow bitter, to give up, to believe that God had forgotten his promises. But Joseph remained faithful. He trusted that God was working behind the scenes, and in due time God exalted him. He took what was meant for evil and turned it into good. And Joseph became the second most powerful man in Egypt, saving many lives, including the very brothers who had betrayed him. You see, my friend, God does not forget his promises. He does not delay because he is indifferent. He does not make you wait because he is unfaithful. No, he is always at work, even when you cannot see it. And when he is about to give you something big, he does so in his perfect timing. I know what it's like to wait. I know what it's like to pray and feel like the heavens are silent. I know what it's like to hold on to a promise and wonder if it will ever come to pass. And let me tell you, the waiting can be agonizing. It can feel like you're standing still while the world moves on without you. It can feel like you're stuck in a season that will never end, but I want to remind you, God is not late. He is not slow. He is not indifferent. He is preparing something for you, something greater than you can imagine. Sometimes the delay is not a denial. It is a divine appointment. It is God aligning circumstances, positioning people, preparing your heart for what is to come. He knows the exact moment when you are ready. He knows the exact moment when the time is right. And when that moment arrives, nothing will be able to stop what God has promised. So if you find yourself waiting, do not lose heart. If you feel like the promise is taking too long, do not give up. If you are tempted to take matters into your own hands, resist that urge. Trust that God is working. Trust that he sees you. Trust that he is faithful. And know that in his perfect time, the breakthrough will come. And when it does, when you finally see the promise fulfilled, you will look back and realize that every moment of waiting was necessary. Every tear, every prayer, every sleepless night, it was all part of the process. And in that moment, you will stand in awe of God's faithfulness, knowing that he was preparing you all along. Now, let me speak to you about something that is absolutely crucial when God is about to give you something big, your response. Because you see, God is not just looking for people who can receive his blessings. He is looking for people who are willing to obey, who are willing to walk in faithfulness, who are willing to surrender their own desires and align themselves with his will. Because the truth is, when God is about to do something extraordinary in your life, he is not just preparing the way for you, he is preparing you for the way. And that preparation often comes through obedience. Let me remind you of Abraham. God called him to leave his homeland, to go to a place he would show him. And Abraham obeyed. He did not know where he was going. He did not have a detailed plan. He did not have all the answers, but he trusted. And because of that faithfulness, God made a covenant with him. Because of that obedience, God positioned him for a legacy that would span generations. Or think of Mary, the mother of Jesus. When the angel appeared to her and told her that she would conceive a child, she could have said no. She could have questioned, resisted, even refused, but instead she said, "I am the Lord's servant. May your word to me be fulfilled." That was not just a passive statement, that was an act of radical obedience. She knew what it would cost her: social shame, rejection, misunderstanding, and yet she chose to trust God. And because of that faithfulness, she was chosen to bear the Savior of the world. You see, obedience is not always easy. It often requires sacrifice. It often demands surrender. It often means stepping into the unknown, letting go of control, and trusting that God knows what he is doing. But let me tell you this. When you choose to obey, when you choose to walk in faithfulness, you position yourself for the greatest blessings God has for you. Because God does not bless disobedience. He does not reward rebellion, but he honors those who trust him, who follow him, who walk in alignment with his will. Now, I know what you might be thinking. You might be in a place where God is asking you to do something that seems impossible. He might be calling you to step out in faith when everything around you seems uncertain. He might be asking you to let go of something you have been holding on to for years: security, comfort, even relationships. And it might feel overwhelming, it might feel scary, it might feel like you are being asked to give up everything. But let me tell you, my friend, when God asks something of you, it is never to take from you. It is always to prepare you. It is always to position you for something greater. Because God does not waste obedience. He does not call you to sacrifice without purpose. He does not lead you into the unknown without a plan. No, He is always working to bring you into alignment with His purpose. And when you respond in faithfulness, when you choose to obey, you open the door for Him to do what only He can do. I remember a time in my own life when God was asking me to step out in faith. I had a stable ministry, a comfortable routine, and a sense of security. But deep down, I knew that God was calling me to something more. He was asking me to leave behind what was familiar and trust Him for something new. And let me tell you, that was not an easy decision. There were days when I doubted. There were moments when I wanted to turn back. But I knew that if I did not obey, I would miss what God had for me. And so I stepped out. I surrendered. I trusted. And you know what? In His perfect time, God opened doors I never could have imagined. He brought opportunities, relationships, and blessings that only came because I chose to obey. So if you find yourself at a crossroads, if you feel God calling you to move in a direction that makes no sense to the world, do not be afraid. If He is asking you to let go of something, do not resist. If He is leading you into the unknown, do not turn back. Because when God is about to give you something big, He will often ask you to take a step of faith. And when you do, when you choose to obey, when you choose to walk in faithfulness, you will find yourself standing on the threshold of something extraordinary. Now, let me speak to you about something that is often difficult to grasp, but absolutely essential to understand: the purpose behind the pain. Because when God is about to give you something big, He often allows you to go through trials, hardships, and seasons of suffering. And in those moments, it can be tempting to believe that God has abandoned you or that He has forgotten His promises. But let me tell you this, nothing could be further from the truth. God is not punishing you. He is not testing your faith to see if you will fail. No, He is refining you. He is shaping you. He is preparing you for the very thing He has promised. Let me remind you of Joseph. He was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. He endured years of hardship, years of waiting, years of silence from heaven. And yet, when he finally stood before Pharaoh, he understood what had been happening all along. He said, "God sent me ahead of you to preserve life." You see, every moment of suffering, every injustice, every painful experience, God was using it to prepare Joseph for His divine purpose. The prison was not a detour. It was a training ground. The betrayal was not the end of his story. It was the beginning of something greater. Or consider the Apostle Paul. He was beaten, imprisoned, shipwrecked, and persecuted for his faith. He faced constant opposition, relentless trials, and immense suffering. And yet in the midst of all that, he wrote, "We know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him." Paul understood that his pain was not pointless, it was purposeful. Every hardship he endured, every sacrifice he made, every trial he faced, it was all part of the process of shaping him into the man God needed him to be. And let me tell you, my friend, God is not wasting your pain. He is not ignoring your suffering. He is not indifferent to your tears. No, He is taking every wound, every disappointment, every loss, and He is repurposing it for His glory. He is using your pain to build your character, to strengthen your faith, to prepare your heart for the blessing that is coming. You see, God does not call us to a life of ease. He calls us to a life of purpose. And sometimes the only way to reach that purpose is through the fire, because it is in the fire that we are refined. It is in the fire that we learn to trust. It is in the fire that we discover the depth of our faith. And when God is about to give you something big, He will often allow you to go through the fire first, not to destroy you, but to purify you. I know what it is like to walk through pain. I know what it is like to carry burdens that feel too heavy to bear. I know what it is like to cry out to God and wonder if He hears you. And let me tell you, those moments are not in vain. They are not wasted. They are not meaningless. They are all part of the process. Because God is not just preparing the way for you, He is preparing you for the way. And when He is about to give you something big, He is also preparing your heart to receive it. So if you find yourself in the middle of a trial, do not despair. If you are walking through pain, do not lose heart. If you feel like you are being stretched beyond your limits, do not give up, because God is at work. He is shaping you. He is strengthening you. He is preparing you for something greater than you can imagine. And when that moment comes, when the breakthrough arrives, you will look back and see how every step of the journey was necessary. You will see how God was preparing you all along, and you will stand in awe of His faithfulness. Now, my friends, as we come to the end of this message, I want to leave you with something that will stir your heart, something that will ignite your faith, and something that will propel you forward into the future God is preparing you. Because when God is about to give you something big, He is not just preparing the way for you, He's preparing you for the way. And the journey you are on, the trials you are facing, the waiting you are enduring, it is all part of the process. So here's my challenge to you. Do not waste this season. Do not squander the opportunity God has placed before you. Stay alert. Stay faithful. Stay expectant. Because God is at work in your life even when you cannot see it. Even when the road ahead seems uncertain. Even when the weight of the world feels too heavy to bear. He is still moving. He is still speaking. He is still preparing you for the miracle that is just around the corner. Let me remind you of something. God does not call the equipped. He equips the called. That means you do not have to have everything figured out before He can use you. You do not have to have perfect faith before He can bless you. You do not have to be free from doubt before He can move in your life. No, He takes ordinary people like you and me, and He uses them in extraordinary ways. He takes our weaknesses and turns them into strengths. He takes our fears and transforms them into courage. He takes our brokenness and makes us vessels of His grace. So if you are in the middle of a trial, do not give up. If you are in the waiting, do not grow discouraged. If you are facing opposition, do not retreat. Because God is not finished with you yet. He is shaping you. He is refining you. He is positioning you for something greater than you can imagine. And when the time is right, when you have been fully prepared, He will open the door. He will release the blessing. He will fulfill the promise. And when that moment comes, when you step into the fullness of what God has for you, you will look back and see how every step of the journey was necessary. You will see how every tear, every prayer, every act of faith, it all led to this moment. You will see how God was working behind the scenes, how He was aligning circumstances, how He was preparing your heart for the miracle that was waiting for you all along. So my friend, I want to encourage you today, do not lose heart. Do not give in to despair. Do not let the enemy convince you that you have missed God's best. No, you are right on time. You are exactly where God wants you to be. And in His perfect time, He will bring you into the fullness of His purpose for your life. And let me tell you this, when God is about to give you something big, He will often ask you to take a step of faith. He will call you to step out of the familiar and into the unknown. He will ask you to let go of control and trust Him completely. And when you do, when you surrender, when you obey, when you walk in faith, you will find yourself standing on the threshold of something extraordinary. So I want to leave you with this. Lift your eyes. Look beyond your current circumstances. See the hand of God at work in your life. Trust that He is preparing something greater for you. And know that in His perfect time, the breakthrough will come. And when it does, when you finally see the promise fulfilled, when you walk into the fullness of what God has for you, you will stand in awe of His faithfulness. You will give Him praise. You will thank Him for every step of the journey. And you will know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that He was preparing you all along.